on, guys. This is the cheapest Subaru WRX I could find on Facebook Marketplace. This car cost $2,000 to buy, Canadian, and it may or may not explode. But there is some good and there is some bad. And in this video, we're going to dive into it and discuss my financial mistake. Alright, so today we're diving into what might be one of my worst financial decisions. But it is turbocharged, it is all-wheel drive, and technically it is a WRX. So this car popped up one night while I was searching for beater daily driver vehicles on Facebook Marketplace. The ad said it did run, but it ran 8 months ago when it was parked. And in the description, the guy put that it was just a minor fuel leak from the fuel rail, blah, 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 blah. And he posted some photos of it. It looked like it was sitting in a field. I'll show you them here in this video. I don't know if they're popping up right now or not. But anyways, that's what the car looked like. And if I have the Facebook ad, I'll throw it in there too. And, you know, he said it ran 8 months ago, just needed a little TLC to get back on the road, and he was done with it or everything like that. And it was a good car. But in Subaru, anyone who knows Subarus, that translated to I beat this car like it owed me money. And it stopped running and I parked it, is basically what that was. But buying it wasn't actually that bad of a decision, and you'll see that later on in this video. We'll discuss that. So anyways, guys, like any of you, I couldn't resist the deal, so I messaged the guy on the Facebook Marketplace, and the interactions with him were, let's say, very short, to say the least. But I asked him, I said, when was the last time you drove it? Does it drive? Blah, 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 you know, the common questions. And he said, oh yeah, I drove just about 8 months ago before I parked it. So that was kind of a red flag. But he did assure me that he had paperwork and everything like that. And I checked the Carfax and it did come up clean. And it looked like from the paperwork, one of the previous owners actually did an engine rebuild at around 120,000 kilometers. There's roughly 200,000 kilometers on the car now. So he did provide all that paperwork and stuff like that. But the question kind of remained in my head, you know, if you dumped in $10,000 to get an engine rebuilt and you're saying it's a simple fuel rail leak, why wouldn't you just fix the fuel rail and sell the car for much more? He was asking, if I remember correctly, about $3,000. And of course I lowballed him at $1,500, and he didn't like that. But he did finally come around and we agreed to $2,000, and I said I would trailer it out the same day. So yeah, that's kind of how that all started. So anyways, I called up the old man, and he's a car guy too, and he's worked on some Subarus in his time. He's done a couple head gaskets, stuff like that. Prior to this vehicle will actually come into play in this video, I owned a '02 Subaru Legacy as kind of a daily driver. I actually called it the welding wagon because it was the wagon, and I used to put all the seats back and I could fit my MIG welder and some of my portable welding stuff in there as I go do jobs with it. It was a $300 car. I really didn't give a shit about it. It actually had bullet holes in it, and yeah, I really didn't care what happened to that car. But you know what? It ran for almost 4 to 5 years, and then I think my brother took it over, and then I took it over, and finally, like all Subarus, head gasket went, and that was kind of the reason why I started shopping for another car. I didn't want a Subaru, but here we are. Anyway, so called my dad and let him know the situation, and he gave me some encouraging words like financial mistake, and you're really going to buy another Subaru and all that kind of good stuff. But eventually he came around, and then I picked him up one Saturday. We drove down there and we met the guy. He was a little bit hesitant, kind of throwing some red flags, but you know, when I asked him, all I wanted to do is, I understand when you're selling a car for $2,000, you don't want someone there all day trying to work on it and see if they get it running. All I asked was to simply see the engine turn over, and he was a little bit weird about that. Like, he was like, I don't have all day to fuck around. But I understand. All I wanted to do is see if the motor was seized, right? Because if the motor was seized, I don't really need another lawn ornament. And so that would have been no for me. But when we showed up there, we started looking at the car, and I'm not going to lie to you, it was actually in better shape than expected. Yeah, there was trees and fucking leaves and everything all over it. But for the most part, the car was intact. The interior was clean, and it did come with the factory rims. Not on the car, but in the car. It was on, I think, 4 different types of tires. Chinese snow tires, all different Ling Longs, all the good stuff you want in a used Subaru. And the motor did turn over. It did have a fuel leak, so we were on the right path. And he actually had the parts to fix the fuel leak and the fuel rail. So he had the injector O-rings and the fuel rail ready to go, which kind of brought up another suspicion, like why not just throw it in and sell a running driving car for like maybe 5-6 grand, right? So there was some, there was some hesitation, but like all good decisions in life, they're made on a quick whim. And we called a tow truck that day, loaded up on the flatbed. Here, I'll show you the video here. It's probably coming up now on the screen. But yeah, we threw it on the flatbed, got it delivered. He was nice enough to drop it right in my garage. And then the process of working on it began. You're probably wondering what actually was wrong with this car. And I was very thankful to have help with my dad. Like I said, he works on Subarus, did work on a lot of Subarus and stuff like that. So he kind of had a gist of these motors. I've never been a Subaru guy per se. Like I've never really, I was more Toyota. I had a lot of different Toyota cars, and you've probably seen some of my cars on my channel if you've watched some of these videos before. But it's kind of foreign to the whole Subaru world of wizardry and turbos, and you can't touch anything without a tune, and your head gaskets are going back to the factory, they need the bags back. But honestly, this car, I got away pretty clean on it. So the list of stuff that we had to do that was you just to get it running, right? Obviously, like I mentioned before, the first startup in my driveway, tried to crank it, fuel rails just spitting out fuel. We thought it was the fuel rail, but it was actually the injector. So we got really lucky there. He actually already had the Subaru OEM O-rings. We threw an O-ring into the injector, closed all that back up, fired up the car, it ran. That was a surprise, and it ran smooth. We were really surprised at how smooth the car ran. So then we decided to go for a drive. And my first test drive, on a bounce to me, the brake booster was shot, right? So we go down the driveway, and not even 2 minutes later, the clutch pedal just hits the floor and the brakes stopped working. So it was pretty interesting first drive. I remember we pushed it back in the driveway. We could barely get it back in the garage. So we popped the hood. We went to go see what was wrong with that. And we discovered that the clutch slave cylinder was gone. It was just absolutely gone on the floor. I don't know what happened to it. I've never seen that really happen before. But so that was shot. So we hopped on Amazon, grabbed a clutch slave cylinder for about $110, if I remember correctly, threw that into the car. That solved the clutch issue, which was great. So now we had a working clutch. And then the brake booster, we started to try and diagnose. Obviously, we bled the brakes. The brakes were real... it sounded like your bag of gravel was in them every time you hit it. It was just rusted, needed work, right? But we thought it was just going to be a simple bleed job, get it back running. But every time we bled it, we kept hearing vacuum escape from somewhere. So then we looked at the brake booster. Again, I've never really seen this happen to a car, especially this is 2011. So, I do live in an area where they use salt, but, I was very surprised to see a 2011 brake booster, completely rotted out at the bottom. So we called up a scrapyard. That was pretty cheap. I think it was under, if I want to say $120, $130. So we're $240 into this car so far, plus the initial purchase fee of $2,000. We're $2,200 into this. Brakes started working, gave them a little TLC, didn't do new pads and everything like that. The brakes were actually kind of all right in that sense, and I didn't know where this stood, so I didn't want to put any money into it if I didn't have to, right? So once that was going, we brought it out for a test drive. It felt like it was running like a $2,000 Subaru. It was kind of sputtering. It would, boost. It just had a weird power curve to it, and I didn't know if that was with the turbo or what was going on. But kind of in the back of my head, I knew something wasn't right. Anyways, then we dove into it. Code started shooting onto the ECU after driving it for about 100 kilometers. Turns out it was P34 crankshaft. I think it was the crankshaft or the camshaft position sensor, one of the two. So we threw a new sensor in. Of course, it was on the really hard side to do. So that was fun. The part wasn't that expensive again. I think we're still under $100 for the crank position sensor. That got the car running a lot smoother. After that, with the vacuum leaks fixed and the new cam position sensor, the car was running and idling like really smooth. And so then we figured, okay, it's probably time to do some, put some money into it and do some maintenance items. So my dad threw a new set of plugs in it for me. He dropped the one engine mount and then threw a couple plugs into it. That was good, that's kind of a shitty job to do on Subarus. That got it running a lot better, but still we kept getting this code. It was for emissions, and I was worried. Like, I've never had a cat go out on me in a car, and especially not like a 2011. So I kept thinking it wasn't the catalytic converter, and every part of me was just like not willing to like dive into it. You know what I mean? I was just trying to erase the codes and throw seafoam at it, and try a bunch of other stuff before we got to that point. But we popped the downpipe off, and sure enough, there was a hole in the cat right behind the turbo there. So it was either go downpipe, catless downpipe off of Facebook Marketplace, because this is a budget build. I'm not going crazy. I'm not, doing high-end brand new parts, right? The name of the game here is how good can I make this car off Facebook Marketplace, really is what this should be titled. But so anyways, we thought about going catless, but then I started reading about boost creep and all this. I had to get a tuner and all that stuff, and I still just wasn't there yet to invest that kind of money into a $2,000 car that really I'd only driven for about maybe 500 kilometers. And every time I did drive it, something new broke, right? So that was an issue in itself. Anyways, we threw a very cheap, I think it was off Amazon, this common theme here, catted downpipe from who God knows who, right? And you know what? It was pretty good quality. It seemed all right anyways. It was better than spending like $2-3 grand on like a factory one. And I put it on the car, and the car started running great. The emissions code went away. And then it was time to do a little bit of a service on the brakes again, touch them up, and then we did an oil change, new air filter, stuff like that, just the basics. Like this video series I'm doing isn't going to be about that kind of stuff. I do have a host of parts sitting on the bench here that I'm going to be installing. It's kind of more of like a budget daily driver build kind of series, not so much like the maintenance side of it. There will be some maintenance in it, but I didn't film all that because that's kind of like just to get the car running. So that being said, we're probably into this car about $2,700. But as you remember at the beginning of the video, I mentioned the other Subaru that I bought for like $300 off a guy like 6 years ago. That was still running at the time, and I was still using that as my daily. So we brought that to the scrapyard, and I think we got like $480 or something around that range Canadian. So that kind of offset the price too, right? So like basically in the project, the way I look at it is I was about $2,500 into this car, and it's a running, driving Subaru. And as you've seen in the rollers before, I took out the OEM. It just had the OEM head unit and went on Amazon, $200, 8-inch display. Looks great, super easy to install. I'll show you that now. But so as of right now, we have a running, driving Subaru, no problems. In making this video, I've already driven the car for, I would say, about 3-4 months. Not a single problem. It's running great, and now I'm finally committed to putting some money into it. And I've already have a host of parts for it, and this is kind of just kick off the build series. And so if you guys are interested, comment down below what you guys want to see happen. There's already stuff that you might comment that already have happened, and the videos are probably filmed. You guys just haven't seen them yet because they're not out. But anyways, I'll give you a walk around of the car, and we'll talk about the good, bad, and ugly. All right, guys. So I'm just going to give you a quick walk around. I don't want to make this video too long because this is just the introduction. There's going to be more videos about it and more interesting stuff. But yeah, you've probably seen on my channel, I did a headlight video of just like restoring the headlights. Did that. This hood is not great. It's cracked, starting to rust, but I do have, again, Facebook Marketplace, guy for $100 can buy a pretty mint one. The bumper needs some work, that needs work. I have a bunch of parts, so some of this is going to change in the next couple of videos. But yeah, it needed work. There was big cracks in the front there. Fixed those up, and I have some replacement parts for here, a new lip. I'm not going to get into too much of it because it's kind of another video, but the body for the most part, no dings, no dents, pretty solid, not a lot of rust, just like the typical, you know, Subaru starting to rust here and there, but everything can be kind of, you know, fixed now if I get on top of it. But yeah, the body is overall in pretty good shape. Same with the paint. It's not horrible, you know, a lot better than you would think for a $2,000 car. And the interior actually is pretty cherry. Like I said, we got it running and driving. This is the new screen I put in, you know, Apple CarPlay. And I'll just show you guys here. Runs and drives, no lights on, everything's working good. Head unit works mint, interior's pretty good. So, you know, for $2,000, it's a pretty good car. And I have a lot planned for it. And yeah, you guys stay tuned. I want you to comment down below what you want to see happen to this car. If there's anything in particular you want to see done, or if you have any ideas or good mods. Like I said, I'm kind of new to the Subaru world, so I don't know what exactly I'm going to do yet. I do have a host of parts, like I said. First things first, though, is going to be addressing these winter tires. But anyways, guys, please comment, like, and subscribe. If you want to see more of this content, let me know down below. Drop a like, subscribe, you know, do all that good stuff. And we'll keep going with this build series. Cheapest WRX on Facebook Marketplace.